Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV coming to you live to give you an update on some news that has been breaking today. Israel has rescued 4 hostages from Gaza, hostages that were being held by Hamas in Gaza. Israel has, in a daylight raid, rescued 4 hostages. And this is since they were taken hostage on October 7th. And this is not a common occurrence for Israel to rescue hostages inside Gaza since October 7th. You know, I should double check this. I want to say there were only 3 others who have ever been rescued since October 7th alive from Gaza. But I may be wrong about that. But this is not a common occurrence. There are 120 hostages still being held in Gaza, according to Israel. But 4 of them rescued in one raid on 2 buildings during daylight. A number of Palestinians were reportedly killed during this raid. Hearing some different numbers from different sides. I believe Hamas is claiming over 200 Palestinians were killed. Last I checked, I think Israel was saying less than 100, but I'll have to check and get you numbers on that. That happened as well. There were a lot of airstrikes going on. This was a major raid with a lot of forces involved, and there were airstrikes going on. There was gunfire going on. And so we want to just bring you some updates that have been coming out and share what the latest is on this. We're also going to be taking your comments and questions on the air while we are giving you this update. So the point of this is to give you an update on this story, and we will do that and go from there. I want to begin a quick thanks to our moderators who are with us. Richard Williams, Ruth Krafasi over there on YouTube. Thanks for moderating over there. RJ as well, Linda Belk. Larry also moderates for us on X. And also thanks to our Twitch mods and our Facebook mods. Hang on a moment here. Over there on Twitch, Good Luck Duck, Idaho Star, McBritches, Sarah, and Surly Dev all moderating over there on Twitch right now. And on Facebook, I want to thank them. Give me one moment. We have modding over for us on Facebook right now. Margaret Riley is there. Thanks, Margaret, for modding. Kay Lowry Body, Ronald Egnor. Thanks to all of our moderators. So let's begin by playing you. I want to first play you what the Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson Daniel Hagari had to say in English. He gave a longer statement and answered some questions in Hebrew, but we're not going to play that. We're just going to play the English part of his statement. So here's a statement from the IDF spokesman. Here is his statement. Hang on, I'm going to play this right now.
At 11 a.m., Israeli Special Forces conducted complex hostage rescue mission and successfully rescued 4 of our hostages from Hamas captivity in Gaza. Noar Gamani, Almog Meir Jan, Shlomi Ziv, and Andrei Kozlov. They are back home in Israel. They are alive. They are well. They will undergo medical examination and will soon be reunited with their families in the hospital. Noah, Almog, Andrei, and Shlomi were rescued after 246 days in Hamas captivity after they were brutally kidnapped from the Nova Musical Festival on the 7th of October. This was a high-risk complex mission based on precise intelligence conducted in daylight in 2 separate buildings deep inside Gaza. While under fire inside the buildings, under fire on the way out from Gaza, our forces rescued our hostages. Israeli forces have been preparing for this rescue mission for weeks. They underwent intensive training. They risked their lives to save the lives of our hostages. This is what we do in Israel. We risk our lives to save the lives of our hostages. While we are happy that our 4 hostages are home, we will not lose sight that 120 hostages are still being held by Hamas in Gaza. Men, women, children. When we say that we will do everything to bring our hostages back home, we mean it. We will not stop fighting for their freedom. Any other decent country in the world would do the same.
Okay, so something he mentioned in his statement was that all 4 of these hostages had been taken hostage. Sorry, hang on one second here. All 4 of these hostages had been taken hostage at that music festival, which was taking place in Israel. It was a music festival where Hamas, when they did the October 7th attacks, they attacked a bunch of people at the Nova Music Festival, I believe it's called, in Israel. And so all 4 of these hostages were taken from that music festival, all 4 of the hostages who were rescued today. The raid happened in Nuseirat, Gaza. Hang on, I'll show you where that is. In central Gaza. Oops. Hold on. I'll show you in 2 seconds where it is. Give me 1 second here. I just had to pull it up on the map. There it is. Hang on. There. Oops. Let me just get this more centered on the screen here so you can see what we're talking about there. There's that. There's that. And here is this, right there. So right in here, central Gaza, Nuseirat, Gaza, that's where it happened. And this was during the day that this happened. And I want to show you some other video that the Israeli military released. Here is a video they posted of, I have a couple videos I want to show you here that the Israeli military has posted. Hang on 1 second here. Let me pull this up and get it on the screen for you. Okay, here is the video of the helicopter on the ground and the people and the rescuers and hostages approaching the helicopter. Here it is right here. Oops. Right here. Okay, so you can see that there. Oops, let me do it this way. This is the helicopter taking off with 3 of the hostages. This is posted by the Israeli military. Why are you not seeing here? Hold on a second here. Why are we getting this? This should be... Let's do this. Okay. So you can see people approaching. That would be these rescuers and hostages approaching the helicopter there. 3 of the hostages and Israeli forces. And then the helicopter takes off. Let's play that again. Daylight. So that's that one. And then another one I want to show you that they posted was this video of one of the hostages getting on the helicopter. Let's take a look at that. You know, one of the 4 hostages who was freed is a hostage who'd become very well known because she appeared in a video. She appeared in a video where she is like screaming for help, calling to her boyfriend as she is being kidnapped. I want to mention that. And there's a video of her getting onto the helicopter. By the way, here are the four hostages who were right there. Those are the 4 hostages who were freed. You can see Noah Argamani, 25. She is the one who was in that viral video. And then Almog Meir, Andrei Kozlov, and Shlomi Ziv. They were rescued in a special operation by the IDF, ISA, and Israel police from 2 separate buildings in the heart of Nuseirat, Gaza, after being kidnapped by Hamas from the Nova Music Festival. They are in good medical condition and have been transferred to a medical center for further medical examinations. So she right here, she's the one who was in that viral video. And they actually posted a screenshot of that video, IDF did. Here, hold on. You'll see right here. Right there. Yeah, somebody said, is she on the helicopter, on the motorcycle? Right there. It says it has been... So that is Noah right there. Her full name is, again, Noah Argamani. But there's this viral video of her screaming for help as she's being kidnapped. Maybe you have seen that video. And she was one of the people rescued. And so there's a video that Israel posted of her jumping onto the helicopter, from inside the helicopter. So I want to play that for you. Let me just get that on the screen. Here it is right here. Hang on a moment. Hang on a moment. I'm pulling it up right now. What I need to do real quick, guys, is let me fix something, because when I'm showing this to you, I want to be showing it to you in the best way possible. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. That should be better. Better, I think. Let's do it this way. Oops. Now I'm messing everything up. No. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this on the screen the right way. There we go. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we'll do this. I think I got it. Wonderful. Okay, so here, this is going to be the video right here of I believe this is video of Noah, the hostage, getting onto the helicopter. Let me just confirm that for you before I show it. Yes, this is Noah, the hostage. She was the one in that viral video. This is her getting onto the rescue helicopter. So it looks like she was rescued in one helicopter and 3 other hostages were rescued in the other helicopter. Yeah, I can cast this. She was being held in a different apartment building. I know there were 2 buildings. Maybe she was in one and the 3 others were in the other. I'm not sure. Maybe that's true. But I want to confirm that. And also, I want to show you some reporting from Manny Fabian, who I follow, who does very good reporting from Israel, and he's with the Times of Israel. And he made a report with some more details about this whole raid. So let me show you that report from Manny. Here's what Manny had to say. Again, he is with Times of Israel. Right here. Oops, can't see it. Now you can see it. At Manny Fabian. So Manny reports the name of the joint IDF, Shin Bet, and police operation to rescue the 4 hostages from the Gaza Strip is Seeds of Summer. At 11 a.m., the order was given to the Yamam and Shin Bet officers to raid 2 multi-story buildings in central Gaza's Nuseirat, where Hamas was holding 4 hostages: Noah Argamani, Almog Meir John, Andrei Kozlov, and Shlomi Ziv. The 2 buildings were about 200 meters apart, and the decision to go for both simultaneously and not just one of the sites was due to the possibility that Hamas may murder the hostages after identifying the rescue operation. Argamani, yes, Noah, who is the woman from the viral video, she was held alone in one building by Hamas guards in the home of a Palestinian family, while the other 3 hostages were held at a separate home. According to the IDF, Hamas pays such families to hold the hostages in their homes. At the home where the 3 hostages were being held, a major gun battle erupted, reports Manny Fabian, during which Yamam officer Chief Inspector Arnon Zamora, the commander of the rescue team at the 2nd building, was critically wounded by Hamas fire. I think he might have passed away, but let me double check on that. As the 3 hostages and Zamora were being extracted, their vehicle came under fire, leading it to get stuck. Other forces quickly reached the scene to rescue them, bringing them to a makeshift helipad in Gaza. There was a large amount of gunfire and RPG fire on the rescue forces amid the operation, leading to ground troops in the Air Force to carry out major strikes in the area to protect themselves and the rescued hostages. The IDF acknowledges that it killed many Palestinian civilians amid the fighting, although it places the blame on Hamas for holding hostages in a civilian environment. So according to Manny Fabian, the IDF is saying that civilians were killed, but they are blaming this on Hamas having these hostages being held in, again, a place where civilians were. Hamas operatives also fired anti-aircraft missiles at Israeli reporters over the area amid the operation without success. So again, that is reported by Manny Fabian of Times of Israel. At Manny Fabian. And in terms of, it's not clear how many civilians died and how many members of Hamas died. That is not clear right now. I saw one report before I was coming on the air about that said, hold on a second here. Right, so the Times of Israel said that, I guess AFP is reporting that Hamas claims that 210 people were killed and over 400 injured. And AFP said, and Times of Israel said those figures cannot be verified and would include both Hamas fighters and civilians. And the IDF said, according to Reuters, that there were under 100 Palestinian casualties. So how many people were killed and injured on the ground there in Gaza on the Palestinian side? I don't know. How many of them were with Hamas? How many of them were just civilians? I don't know. Those are some of the numbers you're hearing. Okay, but that's, I just can't tell you the firm numbers on that. Okay, so I want to take some comments from you, by the way, but let me just see something here. I showed you those videos. We saw the statement. And let me just see here something. Oh, yes, and I want to mention the person who died on the Israeli side, the counterterrorism person on the Israeli side who died. They announced that one of the member of the Israeli forces died in this. Where is it here? Hang on. Oh, I'll show you some photos of the hostages too. Right. So hang on a moment. Yes, they said that I'm trying to get his full name. Yes, a 36-year-old a 36-year-old member of the forces that was involved in the raid today and went into one of the apartments where the hostages were being held. They said he was seriously injured during the encounter and died in the hospital. Yes, right here. You can see this is from the Israeli Defense Forces. The late Arnon, a brave and honorable warrior and officer, 36-year-old, left behind a wife and 2 children. Oh, yes. Where is it here? It says his name somewhere. Must be up here somewhere. Anyways, it says right here, he was 36 on October 7th. He led the battle at Yad Mordecai intersection while eliminating dozens of terrorists, they say, and thereby preventing the terrorists from infiltrating to the north. Anyways, continuing here. He was in a force that broke into the apartment where the abductees who were returned to Israel were kept, was seriously injured during the encounter, and died in the hospital. So I wanted to mention that as well. And here are some photos. These are some photos. Photos from the moment the helicopter landed with 3 of the 4 hostages. So these are photos from the Israeli military. You can see right there. If I can make that bigger. There we go. So again, these are from the Israeli military, these photos. And that is, I think I can make this a little smaller here. Hang on. Oops. So you can see 2 of the hostages after being freed right there. One of our viewers, the Polar Cat, says, is there any news about American direct involvement in this? I believe there's some reporting that says that some sort of American hostage team was involved in some sort of way. I didn't see many details. I'll see if I can find that for you. I did see a report on it, but it was kind of thin on details. Hang on. Maybe I can find it right here. I want to take some of your comments on the air. Yes, the New York Times reports that U.S. intelligence helped. Well, one thing is the New York Times reports that U.S. intelligence helped Israel rescue 4 hostages in Gaza. They say the U.S. provided intelligence before the operation, and they said a team of American hostage recovery officials stationed in Israel assisted the Israel military's effort. What exactly that team of American hostage recovery officials did do, I don't know. If that's true, I don't know. The report in the New York Times says that some American military officials in Israel provided some of the intelligence about the hostages. They also say that intelligence collection and analysis teams from the U.S. and the U.K. have been in Israel throughout the war assisting Israeli intelligence. And they say the Pentagon and CIA have been providing information collected from drone flights, communications intercepts, and other sources. Okay, so I want to take some comments from you. What do you think about this? Israel rescuing 4 hostages in Gaza. And man, I want to find that out. I had read this earlier, and I'm trying to make sure I remember it right. I want to say only 7 hostages total have been rescued from Gaza since October 7th. But don't hold me to that. Also, according to the Israeli military, there are still 120 hostages in Gaza. I believe that combines both living and not living hostages. Yes, according to Wikipedia, 1 captured IDF private was freed on October 30th. Okay. And then February 12th, 2 hostages were rescued from Gaza. So that's it. In terms of living hostages, last December, 1 living hostage was rescued. In February, 2 living hostages were rescued. So the number of the 4 living hostages rescued today is more than all of the living hostages rescued from Gaza since October 7th. There had been 3 living hostages rescued that whole time, and today 4 of them were rescued. And one other thing to keep in mind. Oh, now Oleg says the 120 number includes 4 hostages from 2014. So I know Wikipedia mentioned that. It was a little unclear to me what the Israeli defense spokesman was referring to, and he didn't clarify it today. In his announcement today, the Israeli Defense Forces spokesman said there were 120 hostages still in Gaza. Wikipedia says 120 hostages remained in captivity in the Gaza Strip, 116 of them who had been abducted on October 7th, the other 4 having been captured earlier. So again, I don't have, and I don't know if that's the same number or a different number than the Israeli defense spokesman was talking about. He did not clarify his 120 number, but roughly speaking, we're talking in the low 100s of hostages still there. And if I get any more information about that, I'll let you know. But again, 4 released today, 4 freed today by Israel in this raid. That's more than they had freed so far the entire time up till now. And something else to keep in mind is this is a huge deal for Hamas too, because from all the reporting I've seen and the analysis I've seen, Hamas's main bargaining chip is these hostages. That's been a huge worry for Israel, is and something that's widely reported that has held them back in their campaign against Hamas, is they don't want the hostages to get killed and they want to save the hostages. So this is a huge bargaining chip for these hostages are so important to Israel that it's a huge bargaining chip for Hamas. That maybe the Hamas leadership is hoping to preserve themselves and reach some agreement whereby they're allowed to, for example, go to some other country and just stay there in perpetuity. I don't know, but it's such an important bargaining chip for them. So I have to imagine, I'm not party to what Hamas internal discussions are, but I have to imagine that the people who run Hamas are incredibly upset about this and see this as some kind of colossal failure that they allowed 4 hostages to be taken from them by Israel, right? So that's just my thought on the matter, but I would be shocked if that weren't the case. I would be shocked if this was not a huge deal in Hamas and seen as some kind of huge failure that they allowed this to happen, because these hostages are such an important bargaining chip to them. Anyways, a quick thank you for your support. Spirit of Mourning, Janet Burnett, Debbie James, Dolores Williams, and Dolores Wilson and Richard Williams. Okay, so I'm going to go over some stuff again, but I want to take some of your comments here. Give me a shout at Lookner on X. I'm going to check the chat room as well. There is that footage of one of the hostages, Noah, getting on the helicopter. Let's see here, sorry. JC 2010 says, I am surprised there are still living hostages. As to why, one of our viewers said almost a year later they do something about the hostages. Well, clearly Israel has been trying to rescue hostages. Why this was able to happen now and not before, that I can't tell you. I believe the Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson said people have been training for weeks for this. There was also a report I saw somewhere that said this operation had been planned for earlier, either days or weeks earlier or something like that, but then it had been called off for some reason, for operational reasons. So when Israel got this intelligence, how they got this intelligence, that we don't know. Maybe I can get you some more on that. Give me one moment here. Let me just check a couple reports on this. One of our viewers on X said, why did they have to kill 200 innocent Palestinians for 4 Israelis? First of all, to be clear, we don't know how many Palestinians were killed. Of the Palestinians who were killed, we don't know the breakdown between how many, say, were Hamas fighters guarding the hostages and how many were innocent civilians. But clearly there were Palestinians killed, including civilians. I think I think what Israel would say, and we saw a report saying that Israel said this, Israel said this, is that they would blame Hamas for keeping the hostages in areas where civilians are. So that's just what Israel would say. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you. Also, something that the Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson said is that they came under fire during this operation. And then, as I read you, Manny Fabian with Times of Israel had reported that airstrikes were called in when the hostages came, when the rescuers came under fire. Although I don't know if there were airstrikes before that. But Manny Fabian had said, right here. So this is Manny Fabian from Times of Israel. He said there was a large amount of gunfire and RPG fire on the rescue forces amid the operation, leading the ground troops and the Air Force to carry out major strikes in the area to protect themselves and the rescued hostages. The IDF acknowledged it killed many Palestinian civilians amid the fighting, he reports, although it places the blame on Hamas for holding hostages in a civilian environment. Are they underground? These hostages were not in tunnels. These hostages were in 2 buildings. Adam TV said they had to fight their way out. Gina Marie says, are the Palestinian families that held the hostages being held accountable? I don't know about these families. There's reporting that, Times of Israel reported that they were being, and I think some of this is going to be based on what Israel said. So I don't have a transcript of everything said by the Israeli government today. Like there was I want to say a 10-minute briefing they did. So some of these reports from these outlets are based on reports that the Israeli government had said, but I don't have a transcript of everything they have said. But from the reporting I have heard, this was 2 buildings, and I think they might have said this. He might have said that. Well, I'll play the Israeli Defense Forces English statement again, but I think they might have said in that statement that they probably posted it online too. That these were 2 these hostages were being held in buildings where they were like families holding them, civilians holding them. But something to keep in mind about that I want to say. Yeah, I have to go back and look some more, but let me show you this real quick. Right, so this is Manny Fabian. He is with Times of Israel, and he reports that there were the 4 hostages were being held in 2 homes of Palestinian families. According to the IDF, Hamas pays such families to hold the hostages in their homes. So if that is true, did anything happen to the families? Were any of them hurt or killed in these raids? I don't know. Something else to keep in mind, though, is I don't know what the situation is. I could imagine a situation in which there's a family where somebody in the family is in Hamas. So they're fine doing this because the family has Hamas members. I could also imagine a situation because where Hamas threatens a family and says, you need to keep these people hostage or we're going to do something bad to you. So I don't know the details here, the specifics. If they were held by families, I don't know the specifics of all of this arrangement and everything. Lowell, our viewer, says, I have cried multiple times today. I am so profoundly happy for Noah and her family and the rest of the hostages. Yeah, let me go over some of what we've heard, kind of the reports so far. Let me just go over that for people who joined late. And there's some other videos floating around that I don't have the rights to, so I appreciate people sending them in, but I can only show you what I'm allowed to show you. Maybe I'll post some links to other stuff as it comes up. All right, first let me just play again for you what the Israeli military spokesperson said. Okay? Let's look at that so you can hear it from him. Okay, this is the Israeli military spokesperson. I believe it's Daniel Hagari. He was speaking earlier today on this rescue operation, this daylight raid, earlier today, this morning, in which Israel rescued 4 hostages from Nuseirat, Gaza.
הבוקר חילצנו את נוער.
I want to play you the English language one, not the Hebrew one. So give me one more second and let me play that. My bad. One moment. One moment. I'll get that on the air for you. I had the wrong one queued up. Here it is.
This morning at 11 a.m., Israeli Special Forces conducted complex hostage rescue mission and successfully rescued 4 of our hostages from Hamas captivity in Gaza. Noar Gamani, Almog Meir Jan, Shlomi Ziv, and Andrei Kozlov. They are back home in Israel. They are alive. They are well. They will undergo medical examination and will soon be reunited with their families in the hospital. Noah, Almog, Andrei, and Shlomi were rescued after 246 days in Hamas captivity after they were brutally kidnapped from the Nova Musical Festival on the 7th of October. This was a high-risk complex mission based on precise intelligence conducted in daylight in 2 separate buildings deep inside Gaza. While under fire inside the buildings, under fire on the way out from Gaza, our forces rescued our hostages. Israeli forces have been preparing for this rescue mission for weeks. They underwent intensive training. They risked their lives to save the lives of our hostages. This is what we do in Israel. We risk our lives to save the lives of our hostages. While we are happy that our 4 hostages are home, we will not lose sight that 120 hostages are still being held by Hamas in Gaza. Men, women, children. When we say that we will do everything to bring our hostages back home, we mean it. We will not stop fighting for their freedom. Any other decent country in the world would do the same.
Okay, and here is, just to show you a couple other videos that they posted. Here is this video of the helicopter. Hang on a moment. This is the helicopter picking up, 2 helicopters picked up the hostages. One picked up 3 hostages. This is the helicopter picking up 3 of the hostages being led to the helicopter by rescuers. And then taking off. I will play that again. So that was one helicopter, and then the other helicopter was carrying one hostage, the hostage Noah. And you can see her in this footage getting onto that other helicopter and the other helicopter taking off. There she is. She was in one building, the 3 other hostages in the other building. They don't wait around very long. It takes off like just a couple seconds after she gets on. Watch how fast it takes off. Oh, well, there is an edit there, but I assume they took off pretty fast. The IDF says, this morning we rescued Noah Argamani, Almog Meir, Shalomi Ziv, and Andrei Kozlov, who were kidnapped on October 7th from the Nova Dance Festival. They are all healthy, their medical condition is normal, and they are now in the hospital where they will undergo medical tests and meet and be united with their families. There's videos floating around of hostages being reunited with their loved ones. The 4 were rescued in a joint rescue operation by the IDF, Shin Bet, and the Israeli police, a daring operation in broad daylight during which they raided 2 different buildings in the heart of the Gaza Strip and rescued the 4 hostages held by Hamas terrorists under fire. We will continue to do everything in order to return the 120 abductees and the abductees who are still being held in Gaza. No, we are determined to reach you as well, and the mission will not be completed until you return home. And I'll also check and see if there's any... Yeah, so the Jerusalem Post says an uncertain number of Palestinian terrorists and civilians were killed during the operation. The IDF implied that dozens of terrorists were killed, but left open the possibility that potentially dozens of Palestinian civilians might have been killed as well. The Jerusalem Post also says that the IDF says around 90 Palestinians were killed, but the complexity and the chaos involved in the operation left the breakdown of terrorists to civilians unclear. Hamas claims around 210 Palestinians were killed without providing evidence of that. You know, another point that the Jerusalem Post makes, which is very interesting, the Jerusalem Post believes that this raid will cause Hamas to improve its guard on other hostages. it's really interesting, because like, let's say if Israel knew that, so they went into these two buildings simultaneously, but the two buildings were only reportedly 200 yards from each other. But if Israel was like, you'd think if they knew of any other hostage where they were and they thought it was at all accessible, they would have gone there at the same time, maybe, because if they're in a similar situation, you'd think that any hostages that's being held in a building in a similar situation, Hamas might now say like, nope, we can't hold them there, too dangerous. We got to like move them underground or something. I don't know, but that is an interesting thought as to whether this would cause Hamas to move some hostages and guard them better, as the Jerusalem Post says. That's an interesting thought. Also, the Jerusalem Post reports that both buildings were 3 to 4 stories high. That's very interesting. These were not very tall buildings, 3 to 4 stories high. Also, and one other thing the Jerusalem Post claims, the Jerusalem Post reports that the operation has been planned for months, and it was delayed to improve the exact intelligence about where the hostages are, the risks, all of that kind of stuff. And one other thing the Jerusalem Post points out is they say that what made this easier than other, well, I don't want to say it's easy, but what made this maybe more doable than otherwise it might have been is these hostages were being held above ground, not in tunnels. Many hostages, they say, have been held in tunnels, but these hostages were being held in above ground buildings. Very interesting. One other thing, another interesting detail being reported by Jerusalem Post, they claim that one of the escape vehicles got stuck. And they say that when the vehicle got stuck with hostages in it, that would, with the 4 hostages in it, the Jerusalem Post says that led to Israel to launch a massive barrage of fire on Palestinian forces because they were worried about the hostages being attacked in the stuck vehicle. I can't confirm that, but that's what the Jerusalem Post says. Wow. I mean, look, this is right in the middle of Gaza. So it would certainly make sense that you might have a situation with lots of exchange of fire. Once again, this is where it's located. Nuseirat, Gaza, central Gaza. Unseen, our viewer says, I'm so glad they didn't have a Black Hawk Down situation. Our viewer SP Streeter says it's interesting that Hamas did not immediately kill the 4 hostages when they knew they were going to go down. So multiple outlets, including Times of Israel and Jerusalem Post, report that Israel carried out both raids simultaneously. They raided both buildings simultaneously because they were worried that Hamas might kill hostages if they found out. If they raided, say, one building, they might kill the hostages in the other building. So, but I would assume this took place very fast. I would assume they didn't give Hamas a big heads up. Maybe it was, I don't know how they do this, but you'd think they'd want to surprise the people who were holding these hostages. Go West, our viewer, says Hamas is probably moving the hostages right now. Hood and Penn says maybe they're forcing movement of hostages because not all are located yet. Maybe Israel is looking to see if they move hostages to try to figure out where some more are, as our viewer says. But, something else to remember also, I mean, it's really striking. Israel has wanted to get these hostages back and how much effort they have put into this. It's really striking that since in the previous 8 months, in the previous 8 months, 8 months and 1 day ago is when October 7th was. In the previous 8 months, Israel had successfully rescued 3 hostages. And then today they rescued 4. So what a big difference. Kongler says, good to see they were taken care of and returned unharmed. Our says, might be hostage retaliation. The thing is, in terms of retaliating against the current hostages, the problem is Hamas wants to use these hostages as bargaining chips. So killing hostages, I think they probably, I know what you're saying, but I don't know if they have the motivation to do that. Because again, these hostages are valued to them as bargaining chips. And yeah, one of our viewers, Adam says, Adam TV says Noah is the face of October 7th. We talked about this earlier, but Noah, one of the hostages, you may recognize her from the viral video. There's a screenshot of it right there on the top from Israeli Defense Forces. That viral video where she is being taken away, I believe, on a motorcycle, and she is crying out for help and calling to her boyfriend. And there's her right there on October 7th, and there is her today. There's actually an article on Wikipedia about her kidnapping of Noah Argamani. It says she was seen being taken away on a motorcycle as she yelled, "Don't kill me." Her arms are outstretched toward her boyfriend, who was also kidnapped. The footage of her kidnapping became a signal of the hostage crisis and led to her being described as the face of the Nova Music Festival hostages. Again, that is on Wikipedia under kidnapping of Noah Argamani. Anna says, how does Noah recover from this? Look, I can't even speak of... I would certainly not be surprised if, there are huge impacts and effects on the lives of these freed hostages. I think I'm not a specialist, but that would seem kind of obvious. I wish them the best. But yeah, I mean, who knows what kind of impact that has on you when you are kidnapped, and you are kidnapped from this, situation in which you're being attacked. And then you have to spend, 8 months as a hostage. So I can't speak to it. I hope they're okay, and I wish them the best. But certainly I wouldn't assume with any hostage who's been kept that if you see them after and they're smiling, I wouldn't assume, oh, they're fine, because it can have all kinds of negative effects on you. Yes, and as Crazy Yoda mentioned, there was a member of the Israeli forces who was killed in this raid. We mentioned that earlier. He was... and I'm going to show you a couple other photos here too. But he was according to the Israeli military, he went into one of the apartments to try to free hostages, where some of the hostages were being kept. And he ended up getting wounded and died in the hospital. Here's another photo that was posted by the Israeli Defense Forces. They said Shalomi Ziv was kidnapped on October 7th at the Nova Music Festival. All four of these hostages who were rescued today were at the Nova Music Festival. He was working as security director at the festival when he was brutally taken. We brought him home today to his wife and family. And then here's another hostage, and they posted a couple of photos of him. They said Almog Meir, Jan, was kidnapped by Hamas at the Nova Festival. We brought him home today. Mr. Bigly, Huge and Tremendous says, I have to say I am surprised they aren't skinnier looking. It's an interesting comment. I don't know the situation in which they were being kept. The Israeli military said they were healthy. So a number of hostages have died in captivity. So maybe it's possible that, given what we've heard, that different hostages are under very different captivity circumstances. We've heard about different them being kept in different locations. Again, some have died, some have not. But yeah, I can't give you specifics on that. Gina Marie says tunnels no longer viable for Hamas movement. As to Israel has destroyed some tunnels. As to how many tunnels are left, what kind of movement is possible in them, how many hostages are being kept in tunnels, is it harder to keep them there than before because of the attacks on the tunnels? Good questions. I don't really have information on that. How many hostages are left? Aleppo Gambit says the Israeli military spokesman today said 120. Wikipedia says that might, from what Wikipedia says, it sounds like maybe 4 of those are from before October 7th, but roughly 120. And that might include dead hostages, by the way. Yeah, let me again just show you, I just want to show you again this report. I was going over the stuff we had heard, and I didn't go over this one other report, which I want to show you again because it. Oh, and here's a picture of the person who was killed on the Israeli side right there. Manny Fabian with Times of Israel posted this. He said the name of the hostage rescue mission in the central Gaza Strip today has been changed to Operation Arnon after Chief Inspector Arnon Zamora was killed while battling Hamas operatives. During the raid, Zamora was fatally wounded by Hamas fire while breaching into a building where 3 of the 4 hostages were being held. He was taken to a hospital where he died. Okay, and then I wanted to, Manny Fabian had some additional reporting about, he's with Times of Israel, he had some additional reporting about the raid. So he said at 11 a.m. the order was given to the Imam and Shin Bet officers to raid 2 multi-story buildings. Again, the Jerusalem Post says these buildings were 3 to 4 story buildings, not huge buildings. 2 reportedly 3 to 4 story buildings in central Gaza's Nuseirat, where Hamas was holding 4 hostages. The buildings were about 200 meters apart, and the decision to go for both simultaneously and not just one of the sites was due to the possibility Hamas may murder the hostages after identifying the rescue operation. Noah Argamani was held by Hamas guards alone in the home of a Palestinian family. So this report says it was the home of a Palestinian family, but Hamas guards were there, while the other 3 hostages were held at a separate home. According to the IDF, Hamas pays such families to hold the hostages in their homes. Whether the families have a choice in the matter, I don't know. At the home where 3 hostages were held, a major gun battle erupted, says Manny Fabian, during which Yamam Chief Inspector Arnon Zamora, the commander of the rescue team at the second building, was critically wounded by Hamas fire. He ended up passing away at the hospital. As the 3 hostages in Zamora were being extracted, their vehicle came under fire. Yes, so, right. And again, for all I know, I saw this report in the Jerusalem Post and in the Times of Israel, but it may have been said directly, like, because there was a longer press announcement in Hebrew by the IDF today, and I can't translate Hebrew, so, and I haven't seen a transcript of that. So this might be coming directly from the Israeli military. I just can't be sure. But again, this report and another report says that the vehicle got stuck. As the 3 hostages in Zamora were being extracted, their vehicle came under fire, leading it to get stuck. Other forces quickly reached the scene to rescue them, bringing them to a makeshift helipad in Gaza. There was a large amount of gunfire and RPG fire on the rescue forces amid the operation, leading ground troops in the Air Force to carry out major strikes in the area to protect themselves and the rescued hostages. The IDF acknowledges it killed many Palestinian civilians amid the fighting, although it places the blame on Hamas for holding hostages in a civilian environment. Hamas operatives also fired anti-aircraft missiles at Israeli helicopters over the area amid the operation without success. Again, if you want to see that report, you can follow @Manny or check out @MannyFabian with Times of Israel. He's a good person to follow for Israel stuff. Leor says a really tough operation. Eclipsar said, will the hostages attend a press conference? I believe there was some sort of press thing earlier today in Hebrew, and I think maybe the families of some of the hostages were there, but I don't know that the hostages appeared. Let me just check something here. I'm not aware that the hostages appeared. Yeah, hostages' families gave a statement, I believe in Hebrew, but I am not aware that the hostages. Yeah, Oleg, our viewer Oleg Heifetz, says there was a press conference of the families. A quick thanks for your support on Twitch, Binny says, and also thanks to Alicia Rivera for the Facebook stars. So more hostages recovered today, more hostages rescued today than had been rescued in the entire time since October 7th. Let me check a couple other reports here. So, hang on one second here. Oh, there's this other interesting aspect to this whole thing that I wanted to mention, which is there were reports that Benny Gantz, who's one of the members of the War Cabinet in Israel, the leader of Israel's opposition National Unity Party. The War Cabinet is a small group of people who basically run the government, including the Israeli Prime Minister. And he was going to reportedly announce that he was leaving the War Cabinet, but now says he is not going to, supposedly. Yeah, he said he was postponing his address. Yeah, the Washington Post said that Gantz's office had said yesterday he was set to speak Saturday night. And it was thought that he might be announcing that he was leaving the war cabinet, but he is now postponing his address. He had issued an ultimatum in May saying that Prime Minister Netanyahu needed to come up with a plan for the end of the war. Yeah, Reuters also reported that Benny Gantz, Israeli centrist war cabinet minister, delayed a statement he was going to give today, in which he was widely expected to announce his resignation from Prime Minister Netanyahu's emergency government. There's no new time for his address. Oh, but him resigning from the cabinet, war cabinet, would not immediately threaten Netanyahu's government's control because they have 64 of the parliament's 120 seats. Can you report on the thousands of Palestinian people protesting at the White House? Well, it's not. I mean, that's not this story. There has been a protest going on at the White House today where pro-Palestinians have been protesting. I really don't want to get into it too much detail because it's a little off topic. Yeah, they have surrounded. They were holding this red banner, I believe. Sorry, I'll get you something about this. There was some live video of it earlier, but I don't have the live video of it anymore. Let's see here. Yeah, Code Pink is an organization, a grassroots organization that I believe was involved with this protest today, and they had posted that they were outside the White House to demand an end to the U.S.-Israeli genocide, they call it, of the Palestinian people. And, hold on. Yeah, they called it a red line protest, Code Pink. They said, despite President's announcement about the protest, Code Pink said, despite President Biden's assertion a month ago that the invasion of Rafah was a red line, the situation has worsened, they said. They said, wearing red, protesters aim to embody the red line that President Biden has not upheld. And I believe at one point they actually formed like a, yeah, right here. They had like a banner, like a red banner that they were surrounding the White House with. If you want to see a video of it, go to Olivia Scootercaster. Sorry, Olivia. Olivia Scootercaster had posted this from freedomnews.tv. And she said, the White House is surrounded by a red banner as Palestine protesters declare their red line. This is the moment the two ends of the red line met. The southwest corner of the White House. You see that there's protesters holding up a red banner. Again, that's from Olivia Scootercaster. and video from freedomnews.tv. There was some live video of that I have access to earlier, but I don't believe I have live access to it right now. Where is it here? Hold on a second. Hang on, I might be able to show you a quick clip of that. Yeah, here it is. So like here is, I'll show you a clip of that protest real quick. This is right here. This is from Reuters from earlier today. This is not live. It's from earlier today. But it's a Reuters video. See this? Oops, I'll turn the audio on. So you see the idea there. And then here's some protesters who were right in front of the White House. We want justice! Oh, it's loud. You say how? We are protest freedom now. We want justice, freedom now. We want justice, you say how? We want justice, you say how? So that was going on today. That was going on today. But again, we're not covering specifically the protest. All right, hang on one moment here. One moment here. Oh, I was just going to see if I had any more updates for you on the hostage rescue. Oh, and then Matt Talmer pointed out to me, I don't know that we're going to cover this, but that there is a, no, this is like at, hold on a second here. Yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna cover this. Maybe we'll stick around for it. I'm not sure, but there's a Twitter. I'm just letting you guys. I'll post a link to this in the chat so you guys can see it. But hang on one moment here. Give me one moment. One moment. Hold on. I have to do something real quick. All right. What am I doing here? Why are you seeing? You're seeing something on the camera. What are you seeing? What is going on? Why is that showing up? Oh, sorry. I see. Here. The IDF says, join us on a special Twitter space, X Spaces. That's at 4:30 Eastern Time, as he discusses with Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lookner, as he discusses our operation that brought 4 of our hostages home. So I'll post a link. I'll post a link to this post. Thanks, Matt, for sending that along. Yeah, actually, I can't play it. No, I could play it because it's Israeli military, but I don't know if we're going to be on the air for that. Hang on a moment. Sports, our viewer says, any chance this rescue helped Israel learn more locations of hostages and more will come in the coming days? Do not know. I don't know if Israel uncovered any intelligence in this operation today that would help them find other hostages. Maybe the hostages that they talk to, maybe these hostages will know something that they can tell Israel that might help them. It's a good question, but I don't know. Yeah, I have seen another video floating around. A viewer, Blue Dharma, just sent it to me, of another angle of hostages boarding the helicopter. And I don't know who originally took that video, so I can't show it. But maybe if I can find... Yeah, it's right. So I'm going to post a link to it in the chat, because I don't know who originally owns the video. I know Manny Fabian had posted this. It is the hostages, one of the hostages being extracted from the Gaza Strip in a helicopter. So I'll post a link to it in the chat. But I just don't know the origin of the video. It's just like you see the helicopter on the beach and it takes off. You know, this is interesting. The New York Times reported that residents in the area where this rescue operation took place, and again, there was heavy exchange of fire, and Israel ended up carrying out airstrikes in the area during the operation. The New York Times said residents in the area said it was the heaviest onslaught they could recall during the 8 months war. Although I did see a report that the Israeli military had not been directly in Nuseirat before. I had seen that. So, you know, just keep that in mind too. A hospital official claimed that Israel struck a busy market, and video footage from the immediate aftermath showed bloodied bodies on the ground in which appeared to be a market that was struck. Other video footage showed people running for cover as a powerful airstrike exploded near them, said the Times. Also, a young man told Reuters he saw Israeli special forces arrive in an Apache attack helicopter and said he saw a white car with Israeli forces. He said the Apache started to bomb and fire directly at people, which I can't confirm. Another witness told the New York Times that the strikes went on for 2 hours in an insane way, and they could not move from her house. It sounds like it was an intense operation with a lot of fire going on. Firing and strikes. Nen World News says it was an old video from October 10th. People debunked it. I don't know what specific video was being referred to in that, if it's the market video maybe. The point is, Israel has said that there were Palestinians killed in this. And so is Hamas. So from all the report, and Israel has said that they were being fired upon. It said that they called in airstrikes. So whether or not one video or the other is an old video. I think what cannot be doubted here from the reporting on both sides and what the Israeli military has said is that there were a number of Palestinians killed and injured. I mean, Manny Fabian with the Times of Israel says the IDF acknowledges it killed many Palestinian civilians amid the fighting, although it places the blame on Hamas for holding hostages in a civilian environment. So if one video showing people killed and injured is old, well, there very well could be others. And if there's not others, it's not because it didn't happen. I mean, I assume it's because people are not sitting. A lot of people are not sitting out there with their cameras out in the middle of the street filming while bombs are coming down. But I haven't personally seen the videos and don't know which specific videos are being referred to in specific stories. Okay. I was just trying to get you any more updates. Let me just do one other quick check. Just checking a couple different sources here. Sometimes kind of stuff comes out. The Wall Street Journal has a new article about this raid they just came out with a few minutes ago. Let me just see if there's any other details I want to mention that they report on. The Wall Street Journal reports that the Israeli teams overwhelmed the captors who were hunkered down in 2 apartment blocks. The Israeli military said close to 100 Palestinians were killed or wounded, including Hamas militants and civilians caught in the crossfire. That's from the Israeli military. Hamas claims over 200 were killed and 400 wounded. Yes, the Israeli military spokesperson said that acting when the captors least expected it in broad daylight provided an advantage that justified the risk. I don't think I have a transcript yet of their press conference. They'll probably release it eventually. Where is... No, they haven't posted a transcript of the Hebrew, an English transcript of the Hebrew. Let me just see if there's anything else in here. So the Wall Street Journal reports that these hostages were located in these 2 apartment buildings in May. Originally. That's when they found out they were there. And, the Israeli defense spokesperson said that in these buildings, you had Hamas people holding the people hostage and Gazan families who lived in these apartments. The Israeli military spokesperson declined to say whether the officers who did the rescuing were disguised as Palestinian civilians, a tactic that Israeli special forces have previously used. The Wall Street Journal reports that once the raid started, the Israeli Air Force struck a pre-planned list of Hamas targets in the area, creating cover for the rescue raid. Also, they report that families of the hostages told Israeli TV that the commandos reached the apartment buildings undetected. Very interesting. All right, so quite an operation. Wow. All right, I'll take a few more comments from you guys. Jane Jones says the hostage rescue was pre-planned. I mean, they've been planning it. They've been practicing for weeks, according to the Israeli military. Buffalo Women believes the lift up was near the piers the U.S. put in not long ago. GDR, our viewer, says, what happened? I wonder what happened to the families holding the hostages. That I am not sure of. Chaz, I talked about the protest in D.C. a few minutes ago and showed some footage of it. Chef Slayboss says, I didn't think any hostages were still alive. Great news. Gina Pina says, I'm surprised some hostages were still alive. Look, Israel says there's 120 hostages still there. I believe almost all of those are supposed to be from October 7th. I don't know what intelligence they have about. They believe some of them are alive, definitely. I don't know exactly how many they believe are alive and what kind of intelligence they have. But they do believe a number of them are alive. John Blake says, must be crazy to be undercover there. I couldn't take the pressure. I'm just checking a couple different sources here just to see if I have any more details for you. But this, I mean, it's really striking. It happened in the middle of the day, about between 11 and noon is when they went in there. All right, anyways, I wanted to just come on the air and give you an update on this raid. By the way, Fiery Patriot says, I would not want to be a civilian caught between Israel and the hostages. A number of them reportedly were killed and injured. I don't have exact numbers. I wish I had more information for you. Hard to get, with Gaza, it's hard to get information from out of there. We don't have, it's not like lots of people are live streaming from Gaza. It's not like there's this robust press in Gaza that's doing news broadcasts with cameras everywhere. So we tend to get very limited information about the military fighting, the fighting between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. So, it's just, and I know the internet is not in a good state there. So there's various reasons probably we can cite for this, but we just don't know. So it's really hard to say the details of what happened. I'm sure if we could see video of what happened today, it would be crazy to see and probably really horrifying to see a number of people get killed and injured. But we don't have that. At least I don't have it. Maybe Israel has it like on security cameras or something like that. Like, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if they have drones watching the whole thing. But we don't have that footage. Thanks, Fiery Patriot. So anyways, I just want to come on the air and give you an update about this information, this situation. I'm going to wrap up this live stream right now. But if there's big developments from Gaza, I will certainly come on the air and do another live stream. And I appreciate you joining the stream today and writing in with your comments as well. I will post updates on my X account too. So if you want, you can follow this channel, subscribe to channel Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda. And again, I'll also post on my X account with updates at Lookner on X is where you can follow me on Twitter. And really appreciate you joining. And I do wish the best to the 4 hostages who were recovered. Condolences to the families of any people who were killed in this operation today. It's just not a great situation there with this ongoing conflict. Hopefully the conflict can end soon. But Appreciate you watching here, and I want to say thanks to our moderators as well. Our moderators are awesome. They're the reason that we can even have chat rooms, all of our moderators. So a big thanks to them over there on YouTube, people like Kinetic, Linda Belk, and Danny James, Richard Williams, all of our other YouTube mods who've been there. Larry moderates for us on X, over there on Twitch. David Green, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, McBritches, Sarah, Sharon C54, and Surly Dev. And over on Facebook, K. Larry Body, Christina Neal, Ronald Egnor, and Margaret Riley. Thank you. Hopefully I'm getting all the moderators. Thanks also Athena Gunlock for the Facebook stars. Thank you, Athena. And I will post a link to it again. In a few minutes, there's going to be, I'm not going to cover it, but there's going to be an Israeli Defense Forces X space on the raid. So I'll post a link to where you can check out that in case you want to go and check that out. I'm posting the link to the IDF X spaces. X space. I just posted the link to it, so you can check that out if you want. Okay? And also thanks to everybody who donated. I really appreciate your support for the channel. That is what keeps the channel on the air, so thank you very much. Hopefully I got everybody. Let's see here. And hey, turn on notifications. We have a notification system that lets you know when we're going live, because I don't know in advance when big breaking news is going to happen. So sign up for the free notifications. It works really great. You sign up once, then you get sent a message whenever we're going live right before the broadcast. The mods will post the link to the free notifications in the chat. And at the link, if you want to, you can check out, we also have a Discord chat where you can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air. A lot of our viewers like doing that. That's also free. You can find out about that at the same link. Thanks to our Discord mods as well. And I want to thank our Twitch subscribers. Thanks to our subscribers over there for supporting the channel. People like McBritches, Shaggy, Wall Street, Relila, SP Streeter, all of our subscribers. And again, this was Wall Street said, was this in Rafah? This was in Nuseirat in central Gaza where this happened today. And all of our other subscribers over there on Twitch, all of our Facebook subscribers, really appreciate you. Margaret Riley and K. Lowry Body, Lou Green, and Athena Gunlock. Thank you, Athena, for subscribing, and all of our other subscribers there as well. And also our YouTube members, big shout out to you, people like Lisa H., Crime Trial Addict, Exoria, Gina Marie, Crazy Yoda, Spirit of Mourning. Thank you, Fiery Patriot, for support. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks to our other members like Devil Bunny, Jelly Plane, Lisa H., Lucky Minute, Jason Razor Motion, UV Lightning, Brainy Janie, Flor Morena, Devil Bunny, I think I said that already, but I'll say it again, Callie Voltaire, Mary McHugh 2, Eliza Jane, Linda Rodriguez, Kelly, Amra, Editor Larry, Harper Ann, Ronan, Havasumam was moderating, by the way, too. Thanks, Havasumam, Mythical, and all of our other members as well. All right, guys, Brig Commander as well, Ron Delabio as well. So this has been an update, giving you an update on the latest details on this Israeli raid, Israeli daytime raid, rescuing 4 hostages from the middle of Gaza, from Nuseirat, from 2 apartment buildings, it sounds like. And they in one raid they rescued more hostages than they had alive than they had rescued the entire time since October 7th. So quite a striking raid there by Israel. And as we mentioned, it sounds like a number of Palestinians, both with Hamas and civilians, were killed and injured in this incident as well. And 1 Israeli soldier was also killed. So that is it for right now. You've been watching our live coverage, and we will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.